Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see about the loops in Python. So Python has while and for loop. Let us see the loop structure and the operation of the loops one by one. Python provides three ways of executing the loops. While all the ways provide similar basic functionality, they differ in their syntax and condition checking time. Normally, when a loop has to be executed, it has to check some condition, and based on the condition, the loop executes for several times. That is the purpose of a loop. If we want to do a job repeatedly, we are using the loops concept. And now the checking, the based on the checking of the condition and whether it is true or false, accordingly the loop will be executed several times. Let us see the syntax of the while loop and how the while loop works. In Python, while loop is used to execute a block of statements repeatedly until a given condition is satisfied, and when the condition becomes false and the line immediately after the loop in the program is executed. That is the way the while loop works. That means as long as the condition is true, the process inside the loop is done, and when the condition becomes false, it will come out of the loop and the line following the loop is executed. And regarding the for loops are used when a section of code needs to be repeated a certain number of times. Here it is based upon the number of times. Suppose if we know how many times we want to repeat. For example, we want to find the sum of 5 numbers, sum of 10 numbers, like the series for up to 100. So when we have the limit, the upper limit by which we wanted to do the calculation, that time we are using the for loop, whereas while loop is based upon the condition is true or false. So these are the basic criteria for where to use the while loop and where to use the for loop. And Python does not have the do while loop. Okay, now let us see the while loop of Python. The syntax of while loop is while expression some statements. So these statements are the group of statements or a single statement. Now the example to illustrate the while loop is count is equal to 0, and now while count less than 3, the process has to be done. So what is the process? Count is equal to count plus 1. So the process is print welcome to programming. So that's all. The simple while loop which has two statements, count is equal to count plus 1 and the print welcome to programming. That means this will print the welcome to programming for 3 times, for less than 3 times. Okay, so from 0 to 1 2, that is 3 times, but the count starts from 0 1 2. Okay, and now the example of this using while statement with the else statement. What is the else statement does is, the syntax of the while loop with the else statement is while condition, they execute these statements, else execute other type of statements. This is the syntax of the while loop. Let us see the example. Count is equal to 0 while count less than 3, count is equal to count plus 1 and print welcome to programming, else colon print in else block. Now that means when the condition count less than 3 is true, that time the two lines are executed, count is equal to count plus 1 and print welcome to programming. When the condition becomes false, the statement in else block is printed. So this is how the while loop in Python works. There is another loop in Python called infinite while loop. This while loop repeats forever. So suppose if we want to stop the loop, we have to come out of the loop. So count is equal to 0, while count is equal to 0, print hello world. That means the count is equal to 0 is always true, so the print hello world is always repeated. Suppose if we want to come out of the loop, we have to use some condition. If we want the block of code to execute infinite number of time, we can use the while loop in Python to do so. So that is the purpose of the infinite while loop in Python. Next is the for loop in Python. So as the other for loop in the other languages, this for loop helps to repeat some statement for a fixed number of time. Now here in the case of Python, since we have the range and the iterators, the Python helps to use the for loop over a range and an iterator. Let us see the example. For iterated variable in sequence statements. So now these statements are the group of statements or a single statement. And now let us see the example of this. N is equal to 4 for I in range of 0 comma n. That means for I between 0 to 4, this for loop has to be executed. What has to be done? Print I. So now when this program is given, we can see the output is 0, 1, 2, 3 because the range starts from 0 to n, means the for loop always execute till the value, the highest value, which is n minus 1. Now n is 4 here, so 4 minus 1 is 3. So now here the loop prints I. So for I is equal to 0, initially I is 0, then I is equal to I plus 1 is incremented automatically, then 1, 2 and 3. Now when I is not in the range of 0 comma 4, that means that has come to 4. Okay, n is equal to, as long as it is 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now when it is executed for next time, I becomes 4, which is not in the range. Now it will come out of the loop. Now we can use for loop in iterate, list, tuples, strings and dictionaries in the Python. Actually in Python has many collections of data such as list, tuple, strings and dictionaries. We can use the for loop in Python in all these scenarios. But now we have just to use as an example to tell about the for condition, which is in the range of values. Now let us see how the nested for loop works. Python programming language allows us to use one loop inside the another loop. The syntax of the nested while loop is in Python programming languages as follows. While expression. Now again, while expression, we know that Python always works under indentation. When you are writing something under some next space, that is the block under that statement. Now this one while is within the another while statement. Okay, and now here we have some statements. Any group of statements are single statement, and you can see another set of statements. These statements is just to the left, that means that is coming under this while statement. Okay, so the example given is example I is equal to 1 while I less than or equal to 5. That is the first for loop. Then after that it is next line is under the while loop I is less than or equal to 5. Now j is equal to 1 while j less than or equal to 5, print I into j is equal to I into j. Now this example is finding the product of the numbers or just writing the values as equal to. Okay, so the I into j, the answer is I into j, and now j is incremented in the inner loop and I incremented in the outer loop. That means for it is like whenever we wanted to use the statements one within the other, that time we are using the nested for loop. So for I is equal to 1, I less than 5, and then here for j less than 5, we are going to print I is equal to, that is I into j, that means the multiplication of I into j. So this is how the I and the j loop is incremented in the nested for loop to print the values of the multiplication of I and j. And Python programming allows us to loop one loop inside the other loop. Following sections show few examples to illustrate the concept. Syntax for nested for. For iterated where in sequence, for iterated where in sequence, statements. And now statements. Now we can see that the first set of statements is within the inner for loop, and the next statement is a little bit left. It is intended left, so it is either outer for loop. So two such for loops are there. So example given is x is equal to 1 comma 2, y is equal to 4 comma 5. For I in x, for j in y, print I comma j. Okay, and now this is the answer we got over here for 1 comma 4, 1 comma 5. Because with I is equal to 1, the j becomes for j in y. So now j is values of 4 and 5 of I. Okay, that is the y value, which is 4 and 5. So 1 comma 4, that is 1 4, 1 5 is printed, and then I becomes 2. Now it is 2 4 and 2 5 are printed. Now this is the example of nested for loops. Now there are some loop control statements. These loop control statements change the collection from their normal sequence, execution from the normal sequence. So now normally the program execution starts from top to bottom, and suppose the loop also has started, the loop executed for many times. Suppose if you want to come out of the loop, either forward or backward, we are using the loop control statements. So what are they? The The statements are Python supports a few loop control statements. They are the continuous statement. The continuous statement in Python returns the control to the beginning of the loop. So we have started some loop and we have written some code, and then when the statement continue comes, that time we are using the that means suppose when you wanted to go to the top of the loop, that time you are using the continuous statement. Next statement is the break statement. The break statement in Python brings control out of the loop. That means it brings the control out of the break, out of the for loop, that is the following to the following statement. And pass statement is, we use the pass statement in Python to write empty loops. Pass is also used for empty control statements, functions and classes. That means there are some empty loops, means the loop, just a loop will be there, no statement is there, that is called as empty loops. There, if the empty loops repeated for many times, we are using the pass statement to wait for some time. So that is the it's a temporary block, then temporary halt. So pass is also used for empty control statements, functions and also the classes. So that's all the control statements and the loops in Python, and hope it is easy to follow, and thanks for watching.